Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I have on Zoom with me MK McGee. Hey, MK.
Hi.
It is great to see you.
It's great to see you as well. It's been a couple of months.
It's been a little bit, yeah, because we met at Sherman Oaks Film Festival, which was last year, although we are talking in January, and this podcast is going to come out the second week of February, I believe.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and you were at Sherman Oaks Film Festival with the film The Re-Education of Jane Brown, and you took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Short Film Horror.
I did. It was so exciting.
And I want to give you a little golf clap. And I know no offense to anyone else involved in last year's Sherman Oaks Film Festival, but you were one of the most fun people to email back and forth with.
Oh, I know. We had such a great email exchange. I really loved that.
Yeah, so thank you for being a good emailer.
Oh, yeah. Thank you as well. You don't always get that with these festivals, so it was really nice.
Yeah. And it's an excellent film, and we will discuss it. I assume you're still on the festival circuit with it?
Yeah, actually, that one is wrapping up because we're going to go into production this year on the feature. So it's
Excellent.
time to wrap it up. Yeah.
Well, if and when it's online and you want people to see it, feel free to send over a link so that I can use my podcaster voice right now to say, just go to the show notes for the clickable link to watch the Re-Education of Jane Brown.
Yeah.
Because I know every short ends up somewhere.
Yes, absolutely it does. Yeah.
And they don't get watched enough, and that we would lose many hours of our lives if I started talking about how frustrated I am with the world and how it treats shorts.
Same.
Because shorts are wonderful, but I'm also so delighted to hear you're working on a feature and about to make it.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Very exciting. But so there we go. That's the introduction. Now the super simple question that'll give us the next hour of chat or so, which is, you're an excellent filmmaker. Congratulations. What got you into film? What were you, a creative young person, and you got pulled in early?
Yes, I was a very creative young person. There was nothing else I have ever remembered wanting to do besides making films. However, when I was younger, I was more focused on the acting. I was an actor and a singer for many years. And I grew up in the theater. So my background is in theater. I'm very passionate about live theater. And I did theater all growing up, all performing. I never got into...
What part of the country did you grow up in?
In Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, excellent. Very cool.
Yeah, born and raised. Yep. But it wasn't until I got to NYU, because I moved to New York when I was 18 to attend NYU Tisch. I was in the Playwrights Horizons theater school, which is a part of Tisch. I went in as an actor, and while I was there, I discovered that I was really good at and more passionate about directing. So I switched to directing and graduated as a director and directed theater for a long time. And I was mainly focused on what a period of time for plays that was called in-your-face theater in the UK. So that's a lot of playwrights like Sarah Kane, Edward Bond, Mark Ravenhill, these really brilliant, very brave playwrights who created some works that were not something you typically see in the theater. You know, it's meant to be not immersive, because immersive theater is something else, but it is meant to be experienced rather than watched. And it's meant to help audiences face some pretty uncomfortable issues head on and spark conversation. And so when I decided to make the switch to film, I knew that was the kind of film I wanted to create as well. I was a photographer for many years in there as well. And while I was doing photography, I made the switch to film, and in that respect, I'm a self-taught filmmaker because I didn't go to school for filmmaking. I taught myself by making my first short, which is the short that was at your lovely festival. That was the first short I ever directed and also wrote. Directed, period, but I happened to also write it. And it was a huge learning experience. And then I did a second short, and then I did a third short, all of which were massive learning experiences. And that's how I learned to make film. And I'm also a self-taught writer. And it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of rewriting, um, a lot of rewriting. It's mostly rewriting. But there's nothing in the world that I love doing more than this.
And wow, so much to respond to, but I mean, my first instinct is just to mention that directing theater,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is so well, I just think people who've directed theater actually do make really wonderful film directors, even
I
though you're not
agree.
working with cameras, because film is, if a film is just technically brilliant and the performances are flat, it's really about performance and it's really about human connection. And
I agree. Yeah. And I do think theater gives, and also my background as an actor, I think helps a lot. It's funny because I was having a conversation with one of my favorite filmmakers on the planet yesterday. We met up for lunch. Their name is Laura Moss, and they're absolutely brilliant. They'll be on my list of favorite films. But they were saying, because they came out of theater too, and they happened to go to Playwrights Horizons. We overlapped by a year, and I didn't even know it. But they were saying that there is a difference between filmmakers who come strictly from film, straight from film, versus directors, filmmakers who come from a background in theater. I think there's a passion for collaboration, especially that I got from theater. Um, I bring that to every set. Uh, it starts in the rehearsal process and pre-production, and then of course moves through production and then into post. But it's allowing every single part of the process to be open communication. Yes, at the end of the day, I am the one making the final decisions and I am the one driving the vision. But it is so unbelievably important to remain in open communication and allow the free flow of ideas between you and every other member of your team. And that was something that I learned at Playwrights Horizons. And then as I would continue to direct theater, is that importance of true ensemble work. And I don't, I don't want to speak for everybody because I'm sure everybody does their own form of collaboration in some way. But I do think, and I'll say it until somebody proves me different. But I do think that there is a special kind of collaboration that comes from people who have a background in theater, because theater is scrappy. Theater is in the moment. Theater is, in my opinion, even more brave than film in so many ways. So I do think there is a special kind of work ethic and passion for collaboration that comes from people who have a theater background. But that's my opinion, and opinions are like assholes, and everybody has.
everyone has one. I'm gonna see what you think of my asshole, which is I also think one of my personal theories on it too is that a theater director and or someone who's acted on stage has a much more keen awareness of audience.
Oh, absolutely. I would have to agree.
Right? And a lot of film people don't even think about it, right? Whereas when you've directed people in rehearsal and then you're watching them act for a full house, even 10
Right,
people.
because it's right there.
Yeah, the reactions of those humans to your work, you cannot ignore.
Well, right. And that's, the whole dress rehearsal process and even the, the period of time where you are showing your work to an audience before it officially opens, and adjustments are still being made because it's live and you are watching that audience respond in real time to your work that's happening. And the conversations remain open until opening night. It's a living thing that is, I think, because in film you can do another take. You can kind of do it over and over again, and then there's a lot of flexibility in the editing room. When you're doing post production to change your mind about a lot of different things. It's not like that in theater. It's every night is different, and so you try to create the best foundation as a group, as an ensemble, that will allow you to connect in the most effective way every night with the audience. Because the audience isn't going to be the same every night.
And you use the keyword connect, right? It's about
Yeah.
connection because
Yeah.
that's really what everyone is seeking when we watch, whether it's live theater or things on a screen. We are looking to connect. If you don't
Yes.
connect with the characters,
Yes.
right? That's the thing that bores us when you're watching a movie and you don't care about that character, you don't feel
Hmm.
connected to them, then you're just like, why am I, that's and you sometimes you just think it's a bad story, but it's just it's about connection.
I couldn't agree more because there are a lot of technical things that I will forgive when I'm watching a film. A lot. Like I think being um I don't want to say you should just make a technically crap film. I don't want to say that. But when we make independent film, especially short films, there's sometimes zero budget, but it's always, regardless, very restricted. And so there are a lot of things technically that are just not possible because you don't have the team, or you don't have the equipment, or you don't have the time. Um, and so, especially with independent film, there are a lot of things that I will forgive. But one thing that I won't forgive is character and story. Um, because those are the things that you do have control over coming into the process. Those are the things that you can actually make spectacular without a budget. Um, Especially if you're writing it yourself. Obviously, if you're paying a writer, it might be a little bit more of a different process. But I write most of my own work. So for me, you know, I'm hard on myself, of course. I'm my own worst critic. But for me, um, not deepening every aspect of every character, every moment between them on screen is is unforgivable in a way, because like that is something I have control over. I don't have control over, you know, whether or not I can afford the right piece of sound equipment that will make sure that, you know, I don't know, I'm not a technical person, as you can probably tell, but the right piece of sound equipment or the right kind of lighting to make sure that the light is absolutely perfect on this actor's face. Like there are a lot of things that I will miss, but I do have control over story and character
And performance.
and performance. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because as you're pointing out, I have the same experience. If the budget's low and the production value is not there, who cares if it's a story that grabs you and
Hmm.
performances that pull you in and make you care? All that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
It's the same cost for a good performance and a good script, and I'll add a good edit, right? Because you
Right.
can see a good
Oof.
performance
Yeah.
not just die on a bad edit, and you're like,
Yeah.
where did the
And
laugh go?
I think editors are some of the most underappreciated individuals, because to me what they do is so far beyond my comprehension from a technical aspect. Like it's so tedious, it's not something that I could ever imagine myself doing because I think I would lose my mind and I would pull my hair out. And so I have a lot of respect for editors, and you are absolutely right that a good that an editor can make or break a film at the end of the day. But I also want to say something about the actors because nothing drives me more crazy than when directors blame their actors for something that didn't work in a scene. Um, Actors, I was an actor, right? For so long. We are the most vulnerable people on set. We're asking a lot of our actors. Putting yourself in front of the camera or on stage is a very vulnerable, exposed life. It really is. And they need direction and they need the type of direction that every actor is different, of course, but they need someone who is going to come in and work with them to understand the moment to moment, whatever's happening in the scene. I've worked with actors who are brand new. I've worked with actors who are pros. I've worked with actors who are the easiest people to work with. And I've worked with actors who are some of the most difficult people I've ever come across in my life. But no matter what type of person it is, you can get an honest performance out of them if you're willing to take the time to get there. That's why I think the rehearsal process, for me anyway, I know a lot of directors who barely rehearse at all. For me, the rehearsal process is very important. That during that pre-production process, I don't know how directors who don't rehearse do it. I truly don't, but I know there are some who do.
Yeah, and
I need
every
that.
actor, right? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying I need that time with my actors.
Yeah, because also, right, every actor needs to be directed a little differently.
Differently.
There needs to be
Absolutely.
a little personal connect because when you talk about how vulnerable actors are, the actor is relying upon everyone else there, particularly the director, but they're not they're in front of the camera. They have
Right.
no control on whether their work turns out well or not.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot less control when you're an actor, which is I think why a lot of actors do eventually go into directing or writing and directing, in addition to acting, because as a director, you certainly have more control over the process. And as an actor, it can feel like you have zero. And you're out there doing your thing and just hoping, God, I hope I don't look dumb by the end of this. There has to be trust there because sometimes as directors, we're asking actors to do truly crazy things on set. Not just the circumstances of the scene, but doing things to get to that place that you need the actor to be in the scene. Like we're asking them to do some truly crazy stuff sometimes. And I remember when I was doing that work as an actor, I just remember thinking, oh God, I hope this doesn't make me look so stupid by the end of it. But if there is trust built in there between the actors and the director, then that director is never going to make you look like an idiot at the end of the day. They're not. They're just not. Um, and so you're willing to go there for that director. And for me, a lot of that trust is built during the rehearsal process.
Yeah, and that rehearsal process, I mean, it does sound like directing stage and acting really did inform you.
Yes,
Yeah.
100 million
And
percent.
and if
Yeah.
you don't rehearse, rehearsal is is where it's most similar, I guess, to live stage, right? Because you're
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's probably why it is so sacred to me that time because in live theater you have to rehearse. Like, no one's just like or at least no one I know is just going up on stage and making something up in the spur of the moment. Um even dance, there's a rehearsal process, to make it look spontaneous. And that rehearsal process for me in theater was my absolute favorite part of the process. Opening night for me was like whatever, because at that point, the audience, you can't predict how the audience is going to react. Um, but that time leading up to when it's, sorry for dog sitting. Nayla, babe, you got to pick her up and take her out, please.
Well, in truth, I don't think I heard it. Your microphone was good enough to only get your voice, not the pup.
Oh,
Although
good.
dog appearances are always welcome on this
Yeah,
podcast.
we're dog sitting. She's very cute. She's a friend's dog. Um, but yeah, but anyway, the rehearsal process is where you can really build that trust because everybody is vulnerable during the rehearsal process,
Yeah.
even the director.
And as a film director, you're also blocking and making directing decisions of,
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
rehearsing and you're thinking about where your cameras will go and all those options. Yeah, rehearsal, you can always tell when something's well rehearsed. And I was gonna bring up, so you said that you got involved in photography first, and then you combined interests into film in a way.
Yeah. So I sort of took a circuitous route. That's the word, right?
Yeah.
Um, because I had decided that acting was no longer bringing me as much joy as it once did. So I made a decision to step away from acting and find something else. And when I did that, an opportunity came along to become the creative director at a really fabulous indie magazine that unfortunately no longer exists. Print became very difficult to sustain. For a lot of publications, and we fell victim to that. But it was called Rogue. It was one of the hardest experiences in my life, but also in a lot of ways one of the most rewarding. I was creative directing. I was in charge of coming up with concepts for all of our celebrity shoots and then executing those concepts. And so, in a lot of ways, it was like directing um, because it's not just about putting on a pretty outfit and pretty makeup and taking a picture. There's a whole plethora of things that go into making a really compelling still photography spread. And so I did that for several years and really enjoyed it and got to meet a lot of uh, I worked with legends. I worked with people like Patricia Clarkson and Helen Mirren. Oh my God. I got to direct the video part because there was always a video component for the purposes of like advertising the cover. And I got to direct the video part of it for Helen. And, Jared Leto and it just like all these, crazy talented people. And it was that experience that got me into photography first, because working with those photographers, I was just absolutely enthralled by the process of you know, some of these still photos were just works of art. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. And it was around that time that I met my partner, Alex, and he's a photographer and really brilliant lighting designer as well. And he honestly took me under his wing and taught me about photography and lighting. And we started working together and we had a photography studio together for many years. And it was during that time that I also started making short films. It
And
was sort of a natural transition.
was that all in New York?
No, that was actually here in LA.
Oh, okay, so well, you can quickly tell me what inspired the move from New York, where you were obviously much more involved in live stage, to
Yeah, yeah.
LA.
So I was in New York for almost 10 years. And I also during that time spent some time in Europe and I was directing and performing in Europe as well. Um, but I actually decided, I'm not sure if it was the best decision, but I decided I wanted to go back to school. And I didn't want to stay on the East Coast. I wanted a different kind of environment. I wanted a new experience, something completely different from what I had had. And so I only applied to schools on the West Coast. And I was like, if I get in, great. If I don't, I'll move to LA anyway and just, figure it out. But I did get in. I got into a fantastic program for acting. This was still when I thought, well, maybe I want to really buckle down and build a professional career in acting. Um, and I got into UCSD La Jolla Playhouse. They have a master's in acting program that is fantastic. They take around 8 actors per year. Generally, it's an even split, men and women. And that was a fantastic opportunity that I sort of felt like I couldn't pass up getting into that program. Um, I realized while I was there, if I'm being honest with myself, that I was a director because I even directed some theater while I was there doing acting. But I don't regret it at all because of the friends I made, the training I got, and honestly, every single part of my fantastic training that I've had as an actor and experiences that I've had as an actor has directly fed my career as a writer director. So I don't regret it at all. I especially don't regret it because if you get into the program, it's mostly paid for. So I didn't leave with a lot of debt. It was a little bit, but not a lot. So I don't know, but I do wonder sometimes if I hadn't, would I be further along in my film career by now? But that's stupid. It's like a shoulda, woulda, coulda game is never going to get you anywhere. So,
My
um,
partner lectures me on that all the time because I got that Achilles heel. The
right.
I should have done that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I sort of look back at it now with more from a perspective of just curiosity. I don't have regrets. I really try not to have regret about anything that I've done up until this point. Like I had a lot of people tell me I would regret leaving the US and spending 2 years in Europe because my reputation for directing in New York was very solid, and we had just started a theater company, so it was in that way it was a risk going to Europe. But I, gosh, I learned so much about not just my craft but myself as an artist. So yeah, I really did have now I can't even say the word.
You said
I know I said it
circuitous.
perfectly. Circuitous. Thank you. I was like, God, I said it right before. Circuitous path to get here. But I don't think I would be so absolutely focused like I am now about my filmmaking if I hadn't done all of those other things first. Because now I'm 100% sure that this is the thing that gets me up in the morning excited. This is the thing that feels like oxygen to me. Um, and we're lucky if we can find that, in
Yeah.
our life.
Well, so yeah, and so once you're in San Diego, you're a hop, skip, and a jump to
From
LA.
LA.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
So
that was
I
just a
was there for,
no-brainer for you.
yeah, exactly. I was there for 3 years. I very briefly flirted with the idea of going back to New York. And then I was like, no, what am I doing? That's crazy. I need a new experience. I want to tackle a new city, a new challenge. So I went to LA.
Came to LA and and was the re-education of Jane Brown like the first thing once you got here, or were
Oh,
there
no, no, no.
others?
I moved to LA in 2013 and I didn't make Jane until 2019.
Right, right.
So I had the magazine and my photography career all in those 6 years and then made Jane in 2019.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, it's funny. I guess I was imagining all this, the Rogue period was New York based, but it was here.
Oh, it was here. Yeah.
It
I
was
should
here.
have been more clear. No, that was
Okay.
here.
No, no worries. I should have been the egotistical Californian who thought, of course, if there's famous people, it's here. But I think New York is pretty well
Well, but New
connected,
York,
especially in publishing.
to be fair, when I think publishing and I think magazine, I also my brain goes to New York first.
Yeah.
But yeah, LA actually, at least at that time, did have a pretty fantastic independent magazine environment.
Yeah.
Like, and a few of them are still out there. Shout out to Flaunt. Flaunt is still going strong after however many years.
Well, so after you're here and you're doing that, were you writing a lot of scripts or were you thinking about film?
You know, it's funny. I was not writing a lot of scripts because I didn't think of myself as a writer. I wrote Jane because really I couldn't think of anyone else that I could call on to write it. It was sort of like a if I want to make this thing, then I have to write it. But even though I wrote it, I still didn't think of myself as a writer. Um, even now after having, probably started writing in like, I mean, I've written my whole life, but mostly prose, right? Like short stories and creative writing and things like that, not scripts. I didn't start writing scripts until about 7 years ago, right? And so in those 7 years, I've been very slow to look at myself as a writer. I honestly, if I'm being totally honest, it wasn't until last year, 2025, that I was like, oh, huh. Because my feature script was getting a lot of really positive attention. Like I got into the writers lab uh, with Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman run a program for female and non-binary writers over 40. Every year they choose 12 screenwriters to participate in this lab, and I got into it last year. And then the script won Film Quest and had a bunch of other awards and whatnot. And so I really think it wasn't until last year that I was like, oh, maybe I'm a writer. Maybe I'm also a writer.
But you chose to write The Re-Education of Jane Brown. Was it was it inspired by things going on in our nation on the
Absolutely.
subject? You had something to
Absolutely.
say.
I did. That was a dark time for me, and I think for a lot of people. It was inspired both by the political climate and also my own personal experience as a survivor of uh, sexual assault and domestic violence, and I had an idea in my head for a story. Like most of my films, scripts, I should say, screenplays, I think because I come from a directing background, it often starts with just one part of a scene that I can see in my head. And I don't know where it comes in the film, and I don't know how it connects to the rest of the film yet, but I have this one visual, right, that is very clear to me. And with Jane, it was strangely enough, it was a woman. I had this visual of a woman. She starts bleeding and she thinks it's her period, but we know it's something else. And she's trapped. And I was like, okay, she's trapped in something that looks like her home, but it's not her home. And I had no idea where I was going with it. I had no idea how it connected to a bigger story. But I couldn't shake it. I couldn't let go of it. And so I started to build a story around that. And it was inspired by my own personal experience and by the stripping of women's rights in this country, which surprisingly, because I remember thinking for a while during the pandemic, is this even going to make sense as a feature? Is it going to be relevant anymore? Because it felt like we were going in a different direction as a country. And then Roe got overturned, and then, the elections. Um,
Yeah,
and I
well,
was like,
it
oh,
was it
wow,
was it was written and completed during the first I can say it during the
during
first
the
Trump
first
term.
term. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I
that's when the Supreme Court was changing
changed.
in
Yep.
makeup in
Exactly.
personnel in
hmm
ways that was scaring the shit out of a lot of us.
Oh, yeah. And then but I thought, well, it wasn't until 2023 that the reality started to really sink in, I think. And then I realized by 2024 and 2025, of course, that, oh, wow, okay, so the feature version is actually going to be even more relevant than it would have been
Yeah.
before, which I couldn't previously fathom.
We did, yeah, there was, oh boy. So we were pretty confident. Things were even said during that, but we know I would be happy to talk politics
mm,
with you. It's just,
I
we want to
know,
talk
but we
about
would
the
go
film,
down
about the
so
work.
many
Yeah,
different rabbit holes with politics,
exactly. And
believe me.
that is a rabbit hole from which you need
It's
time.
hard to
You
return
need
from that
time.
rabbit hole as
And
well.
but I have now learned that there is a feature version of the
Yes, yes,
re-education. But is that the feature but that's not the feature you're working on, or is it?
yes, yeah.
So it's really
So yeah, exactly. So the script is complete. I mean, I'm doing some minor adjustments. Pretty much complete. I have my producing team. We're about two-thirds financed, and it's uh, everyone's very optimistic. So I'm optimistic that we'll be going into production this fall sometime. Um, it's kind of the most exciting thing and the most terrifying thing all at the same time.
well, I'm so happy for you. And to be honest, tangentially, every year when we're trying to figure out what panels to do at the festival, I always run it by the alumni. Uh, should we do a panel on taking a short to feature? And everyone says yes, and no one has a fucking example that actually, you know what I mean? Like everyone's like, yes, I'm working on that, and I'm like, no, 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 we need someone who did
Who
it.
actually completed it?
We want
Well,
that's the person we want sitting in the chair with two other people who did it,
right,
sharing their
right.
experiences. And so I'm giving you a golf clap that I
Thank
might be
you.
hitting you up in a year or two to be on a
Yeah, I
panel.
mean, look, I hope so. I'm very cautiously optimistic. I know that anything can happen in this business, as we all know. But I am very cautiously optimistic. Again, it's a very relevant piece of work that I think speaks to the very confusing and difficult feelings that we're all experiencing right now.
And for everyone listening, I just want to say that in spite of the tone of our discussion, I think one of my earliest emails to you was praising the fact that the film is thoroughly entertaining as but I mean I know genre it sucks to like have to throw a film into a genre bucket because I feel like you
So,
combine sci-fi and horror.
yeah,
I feel like it's a very broad and rewarding watch, but it is and honestly it's a bit of a thriller and it's a bit of a mystery. It's really a
yeah,
lot of things at once
yeah,
and thoroughly entertaining. And then the point we're talking about that you make about women's rights and reproductive rights is truly the subtext. It's
right. Autonomy. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Honestly, and the feature's the same, right? I call the feature what do I call it? A feminist psychological body horror film, or feminist
yeah.
psychological horror with body horror elements. Um, it is, look, I myself, I'm the first person to admit that I'm pretty firmly rooted within the horror genre. I'm passionate about it. I love it. I think it's a very powerful genre, and there's a lot of subgenres, within horror. I myself am not into, like I love slasher films. I'm not inspired to make them. Um, there are a lot of subgenres of horror, so you can kind of go anywhere. But one of the things I love so much about horror, and even when I was doing theater, the type of theater I was directing was horror. Like if really with theater, we say there's only dramas, comedies, and musicals, really. Like you don't really go much past that. And these were dramas, sure. But if you really want to get specific about it, this was horror. I love the horror genre so much because people, it is, but it is easier to entertain people, I think, within the horror genre because people like to be scared, right? It's fun, and uh, it's a popular genre within the film going community. And my horror people are some of the most passionate, like movie fans that you'll ever meet. I just absolutely fucking love the horror community so much. I have so much love for them. Um, but beyond that, I think horror you can entertain while also exploring really difficult subject matter that has powerful messaging from, political, social, like all kinds of, if you want to call it like social justice issues. You can do that in the horror genre uh,
Hugely,
in a way
huge.
that you can't in like straight drama. Do you know
You
what I
can't.
mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, really, I mean, to me, well, I'm pretty old, so I grew up in the 80s when it was just slasher. And it was a pretty boring genre. And there's been a renaissance in the last 10, 15 plus years. And now exactly, I mean, whether it's the Jordan Peele work or other stuff, like
Yeah, he's
now
great.
horror is like sci-fi where you can tell a story that makes a point that, as you said, if you just did it in a straight drama, would would feel heavy-handed and turn audiences off.
Yeah.
And why make a film that doesn't connect to audiences? Like you want to connect. So by telling a story that makes a point in a horror film, it's just like, yeah, we used to need sci-fi to tell these things. We needed sci-fi to write stuff about the human race's determination to destroy itself. Like
Right. 1984. God, one of the best.
yeah, like you need these entertaining things. Well, you need
Mhm.
to. I guess it's about world building too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, world building, absolutely. I mean, sci-fi horror is much more of a mashup now. I think in the 80s, they really tried to divide it by horror and sci-fi. And I think that's where the confusion was. But if you look at somebody like Cronenberg, for example, all of his work is horror sci-fi mashup. Like, and it's all about, social political themes.
Oh yeah,
He's always saying something that's not directly on the screen, but you know what he's talking about. Like, you know what I mean?
absolutely. Oh
Um,
yeah.
and and he's one of my favorite uh, filmmakers out of the 80s. But
Yeah, no,
yeah, I do.
sci-fi got ruined in a way by Star Wars when all of a sudden it just became okay,
Right.
war movies in space. Let's entertain the shit out of people. But I do try to remind people that like the first Star Wars film was about nuclear annihilation. Like the Death Star represented nuclear
Yes,
holocaust.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
but then they made 15 more films that have they're just space opera. So, or not
A lot of,
soap
yeah,
opera. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yes,
It became
yeah.
a soap opera and pointless and just how many ships can we have flying around at once firing lasers? But it did make a point in the
The
beginning.
first one, it made a very powerful point.
Yeah.
I believe. Um,
Yeah, I'm with you.
and you look at something like Alien. Alien got labeled as a sci-fi film, but honestly, it's it's horror.
It's a
It's
monster
horrific.
movie.
It's a monster movie. Do you know what I mean?
And it's
Like
a
it's like,
feminist monster movie.
and it's feminist. Thank you. Oh my God. It's one of the most powerful feminist films. Honestly, I love that movie. I love the original Alien film, and I've loved all of the Alien films for different reasons. Even the new ones, which I think get a bad rep for whatever reason. I loved Alien Covenant. I loved Prometheus. But that original, for me, nothing will be as powerful as the OG Alien film because it was such a feminist film. Like
And in
nobody,
reality, the re-education of Jane Brown, like, I mean, it is a bit of it has a sci-fi feel.
it has it has
Right.
sci-fi elements.
Yeah.
I think in the same way that like, and I'm going to mention The Handmaid's Tale only because I can't seem to ever escape comparisons to The Handmaid's Tale, even though well, first of all, I've never seen the show. I know the book, but I think that the sci-fi elements to my feature are similar to the way that you could maybe call Handmaid's Tale has sci-fi elements, but as far as the world, but you know, I can't get away from the comparison just because they explore such similar themes, but they couldn't be more different. Um,
Sure. Honestly, I haven't seen it either. I haven't watched it.
I haven't
So,
seen the show. I mean, I've
yeah.
heard really, really good things, but I just never got around to watching it. But I know the book and I know the story, and I can see why the comparisons are there because the themes are just so like the themes that we explore. I mean, it's women's rights. It's the rights to our body. It's bodily autonomy. It's like it's all there. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll hop back up, get a little, so I guess I want to ask how the experience was shooting the short. Was it
it was quick and dirty.
quick and dirty and rewarding?
And rewarding, absolutely rewarding. I mean, look, I look back at that set, and I really have to give a major shout out to my producer on that short. Her name is Elizabeth Ayers, Jane and June Entertainment. She has since moved away from LA, but we did work on that one short together, and she had a lot of experience producing film, and I learned a lot from her. Even though I was the writer director and it was my film, I learned a lot from Elizabeth. And I know for a fact that short would not have been made without her. Um, but my, I had two female actors on that film, Alexandra Hendrickson and Katie Parker, who I knew previously. I had previous relationship with. Alex, I knew from NYU, and Katie, I had been friends with for years in LA. Um, and so we already had trust built in, which was very helpful in a very quick 2 day shoot, because I was asking them to do some pretty difficult stuff and work on some pretty difficult material. And because that trust was already built in, it worked for that limited amount of time that we had to shoot this thing. So my onset rapport with my actors on that film was amazing. It was such a rewarding experience because we did some rehearsal. We talked about the script, we talked about the world, the characters, and all that thing. But then I really got to sit back and let them do their thing because there was an enormous amount of trust there. I knew that these women would get there. Um, and they did.
And
I think they're
they were challenging roles.
very challenging, very challenging. And I am so proud of their performances in that film. Um, there's a lot of technical stuff that, of course, I would have done differently looking back on it, a lot. But we just, the reality of it is we had 2 days, we had no budget. I mean, I say no budget, but it was very, very tiny. And it was all coming out of my savings. And I, uh, like my digital tech, we lost a half a day of shooting because he was a newbie, and it's my fault, not his. It's my fault for not being able to hire somebody that had more experience. Um, but and there was a lot of things that we just didn't have money to be able to do, technically. But I had a female cinematographer, Emma Cragen, who I really loved working with, and I thought she did a really lovely job, especially with the tools she had and the short amount of time she had. And we worked together well. There were a lot of shots that I had in my head that I knew absolutely had to happen the way that I saw it in my head. A lot of it was, most of it was her, but there were a couple shots, like that shot coming down the hallway and then into the bathroom, for example, that I just, even though we had to do it handheld because we didn't have like a dolly or anything like that, and that was tricky, and it looks handheld. I still preferred that over just starting in the bathroom. So there were some things that I just absolutely needed because that was how I saw it in my head, and thankfully Emma was really down to figure out a way to make it work. So we all rolled our sleeves up on that set and helped each other out and got it done, and it was really a lovely way to make a film.
Absolutely. And congratulations, because I mean it came out wonderfully, and
Thank
and
you.
and like I said, I mean they were, when I said they were challenging roles, it's also, it's a challenging film, and so yeah, to honestly, for your first film, I think you set some high ambitions and achieved them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then to hear that the feature is brewing is
Yes,
got to be extra rewarding.
it very much is. Yeah. I'm so happy that the response to the feature project has been, um, overall very positive. Uh, I feel very happy about that because you never know what, you just never know. You make a thing, and you just never know how people are going to respond to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I'm going to completely change the tone for a second and say, by the
Great.
way, I just realized right now the person who was on this podcast 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, who wrote and directed a feature film that played Saturday night, played in the same festival, same Sherman Oaks Film Festival as yours,
Yeah.
had Katie Parker in it. Katie
Oh,
Parker was
wait.
in two
Oh,
films in our last
was
festival.
she really? Which feature was it?
She was in Where Darkness Dwells.
Wow. She's such a brilliant actress.
I believe she's
And
just in an introductory scene as someone who works with the lead character,
okay,
but it was a key scene that set up the rest of the film. I think she might appear later, but that's just amazing to
I,
me. There's
yeah,
these
that
weird
doesn't surprise
coincidences in
me.
life.
That doesn't surprise me. She works a lot. And, I mean, she's been in everything Mike Flanagan has ever done, almost. She and Mike have a great working relationship. Because she was the lead in his first feature, the first feature he ever made, called Absentia, which is actually, I think, a really, really well done feature. And that's what got him Oculus, I'm pretty sure.
It is. Well, God, this is. Uh, uh, it might still be the person who helped get. I'm just blanking on the name. You just named the first film.
Absentia.
So the person who got Absentia sold and released is a producer's rep who's on our board, and that's why.
No
And
way.
Mike Flanagan he asked for the favor of, do you want to be on the board of Sherman Oaks Film Festival that we're launching? And because he's the kind of good person who remembers the people who helped him when he was nobody, Flanagan said yes. So
Wow.
actually, we might have finally taken his name off our website because sometimes people are a little too excited, like, oh, is Mike Flanagan going to see my film? And it's like, no,
Yeah, it doesn't
he's not
really,
on our
no,
jury. He's
no,
just
no, yeah,
loaning
yeah.
his
Just
name
on
because
the,
he trusts some of the people involved in this
yes,
festival.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But what are the
Yeah.
odds?
I mean, it's such a small world. I mean, honestly, and Katie, God, she knows this. I can't say enough good things about her. I'm just absolutely always floored by her brilliance on screen. I mean, she's a light on screen. I hope
In
I'm
spite of being in all these Flanagan works, I can now name two zero budget films that she's done.
yes. Well, because she is so good about she does a lot of independent film, a lot. I mean, she was in our mutual friend Molly Elfman's first feature called Next Exit, which if you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. That was an indie film, and Molly is also a producer. Um, and she was recently in a our mutual friend Angela Goldman had her first feature called The Beldam, which was did the festival circuit in 24 and was just released on Apple a few months ago. And I also highly recommend watching that one if you haven't. It's starring Katie. So she does a lot of independent film, and I am hoping she will reprise her role as Jane in the feature. So we'll
Right.
see.
Right. Not a lock, but she had a good experience
I
and
hope so. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Well, anything else you want to mention? Uh, I figure we should probably wrap it up nowish.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, all
I
good?
am at your disposal.
All right. Well, no, I just also want to respect your time because I know we're going to have fun recording the next podcast, which is the one
Right,
that'll come out after this.
right, right.
And there could be a hard out ahead of us, so I just figured. But
Absolutely.
we've
Yeah.
covered and I just want to congratulate you again and thank you again
Thank
for
you.
being a part of the festival. And we also just mentioned we had the fun exchange because I wanted to clear with you that your film was going to be in a block with pretty
Yes,
some
you weren't
challenge.
kidding.
Yeah,
You weren't kidding. That last film, I think it was the last film in the block.
it played there. You can't show someone's film after that.
Right. No, no.
We're
Yeah.
talking
I'm
about a
glad
film called, well, I've been calling it Lokia. Someone else on the jury called it Locia, but it's Lochia.
Yeah, I'm not sure the
Yeah.
correct pronunciation, but yeah, you weren't kidding. That was a really hard watch. I had invited, a bunch of people to the screening and one of my girls had to leave. And I was like, it's totally fine. I get it. Like, absolutely.
It's funny
Um,
is we put the warning up instead of putting it on screen in between. I didn't want to like, I felt like it might be disrespectful to like put the warning, show two films, and then put the warning and ask people to
sure,
watch. So it said it in the
sure.
beginning.
In the beginning, yeah. But
But
it
I
was
also
really,
know
it was,
that
it, yeah,
a lot of people are pretty cocky and like figure, oh, I can take it. I'm
I
fine.
can take it. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I feel like I'm one of those people. I feel like I can handle some pretty, hard, disturbing material on screen. That one was, I think the reason that one was so hard is because it was just relentless. It was just it was nonstop. Like
It was
you didn't get
relentless
it.
and kept
You didn't get a
escalating.
break. It kept escalating, and there was no break. You never got a break. I don't know what the runtime was on that one.
I
I
think it was close to 30-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
Might have
So
been 25.
it was a long time to be sort of like, you know, just continually hammered with like really, really difficult stuff. So
In a very
even
dark world.
like even someone like me who kind of lives in the darkness, it was hard for me. So, but bravo to that team because honestly, it visually it was very impressive. They clearly had a lot of really talented and experienced individuals working on that team.
It looked pretty amazing and the performance is pretty amazing.
Right, that lead
One
actress,
one person on camera the whole film.
well, and the reason I know that uh, film too is because the guy that plays the boyfriend, who's not like he shows up a few times, but
Yeah.
in like dreams and memories.
Yeah, there's
Um,
flashbacks.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mickey. I've known Mickey since like 2017 or something. I shot photos of him and Tommy Flanagan when he and Tommy were doing a feature together. This must have been in 2018, something like that. Uh, and Tommy is, of course, a brilliant actor. I had such a crush on him in Braveheart. Oh my God. But he and Tommy were doing a feature together. So I've known Mickey for a while. It's such a small world.
I was about to say like it was almost like the 2025 Sherman Oaks Film Festival was like built around your universe somehow. Who knew?
It was so wild.
That's crazy. And you didn't even know that Katie was in a
Was
feature
in
the
the
night
feature.
after
I
your
mean,
film played.
wow. Wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, I believe I've got I don't know if you want to mention a website or social media for people to follow to keep
Yeah,
an
yeah,
eye on.
yeah, of course. I think the easiest thing is give me a follow and feel free to DM me on Instagram. My handle is at mk.mcg, mk.mcg, and from that page you can find all the individual pages for the films.
Exactly. And now I'll sound like a real podcaster and mention that that'll be a clickable link in the show notes.
Woohoo!
So however you are listening to us right now, uh the two links that MK just mentioned, because there's also well, you also gave us Trio JB Film at Trio
Oh yeah, the
TREO JB
re-education
Film.
of Jane Brown,
Oh, right,
TRE.
there we
Yeah, yeah.
go.
It's just because the re-education of Jane Brown is so long, so we just
Sola.
shortened it.
But I'm proud. I don't think I fumbled it, which
You
I'm very.
didn't.
Whew. Sometimes it's tough to get a long title out of your mouth. All right, well, those links will be clickable in the show notes as well as the stuff I'm about to mention. But first, thank you, MK, for taking the
Thank
time.
you. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone who's listening. If you want to learn more about this podcast that's devoted to filmmakers who are on the festival circuit, just go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIFwins. I have now been off social media for a year. I quit like January of last year for, you could probably guess why. And because last January was pretty ugly. And
Yeah.
I've been off. So that's just my way of sharing that if you can absolutely write to us on all the social media at DIFwins, and my wonderful podcast producer Karina will respond, because if I go into social media, I'll lose an hour of my life looking at bunny rabbits and huskies, mostly playing with human babies. I think I cannot get enough of that stuff. And so anyway, I'm avoiding my addiction, and it's been a year now. So anyway, that's that. So that's discoverindiefilm.com. If you switch it to .org, if you go to discoverindiefilm.org, that is the nonprofit that runs two festivals in the LA area. Sherman Oaks Film Festival every December, where we showed the re-education of Jane Brown. And every June, we have Film Invasion Los Angeles. Same team, same ethos, just different name. We couldn't pick a name when we started over 10 years ago. And so just moved the two names apart, 6 months apart. And I refer to them as siblings, and they just got a cousin in South America. Last month, on January 16th and 17th, we had Film Invasion Lima in Peru.
Wow.
Which actually, I'm playing the time shift because this podcast comes out after Film Invasion Lima, but it actually is 8 days from now. So
Wow, that's exciting.
it's really cool, and it's there's a wonderful team down there who are actually two-time alumni of Sherman Oaks Film Festival, and a conversation led to finally a Film Invasion being born outside LA, because we started Film Invasion LA in 2016, and there was lots of time. There was a London possibility, a Vancouver possibility, in Oakland, California. Lots of people like approached me, and when I made it clear I wouldn't do all the work for them, that they would actually have to do the work, then most people said no. But the team in Lima was willing to do just about all the work. So
That's great.
thank you, Chevy and Pilar. You two rock. Thank you for making Film Invasion Lima happen last month. And I think that's all I need to say. Thank you, MK, for doing this.
Thank you, Jeff.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.